Hegseth Myers, this is late night. We hope you're doing well. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. When asked during an Oval Office meeting yesterday if he had any top picks to take over the Iranian government, President Trump said, quote, well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. Some for a while now. According to a new report, President Trump exposed a CIA surveillance operation on the late Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei 8 months ago in a post on Truth Social. So if you're wondering how Truth Social's doing, it took 8 months for someone to notice. The son of the late Ayatollah Khamenei has reportedly emerged as a frontrunner to replace his father as Supreme Leader. Man, can you imagine going through all of this to get rid of an evil leader and you just end up with his son? That would be the... No! Take it down! Take it down! President Trump reposted a picture yesterday of himself wearing sunglasses with the caption, quote, I stand with Trump, the most badass president of all time. I don't know. When you're like 30, you look badass in sunglasses. When you're 79, people just try to help you cross the street. Those are the real square ones, too. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pushed back this week on comparisons of the military operation against Iran to previous U.S. conflicts in the Middle East and said, quote, this is not Iraq. This is not endless. To put it in Hegseth terms, it's just a bender. President Trump said in a post this week on Truth Social that the U.S. has a virtually unlimited munition stockpile and added, quote, wars can be fought forever. Or to put it in Hegseth terms, a bender. A picture has gained attention online this week that shows President Trump with a red rash on his neck, but I think that's just his body rejecting his FIFA Peace Prize. It burns, it burns. Ah. President Trump this week reposted a photo of Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr and U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach discussing Barr's proposal to put Trump's face on a new $250 bill, and that is the perfect currency to plaster his face on. I can't think of anything more useless. What is anyone using a $250 bill for? Buying a vowel? Here's a little something for you, Vanna. Dunkin' today began offering a new sugar-free energy drink called Dunkin' Zero, which, by the way, was Mike Scollins' nickname in high school. I heard your sister was dating that Dunkin' Zero. Mike's a writer on our show, and it might feel mean that we would make that joke about him, but he wrote this next one. Maybe after you hear it, you'll realize why we have to attack him in the body of the show. And finally, a Florida nudist colony was recently listed for $2.5 million, but you can probably lowball them. Dunkin' Zero wrote that one. That was a monologue, everybody. Hey! Got a great show for you tonight. You know him from Stranger Things and The Newsroom, as well as movies such as Thunderbolts and Violent Night. He's starring in DTF St. Louis with new episodes airing Sunday on HBO and streaming on HBO Max. David Harbour is here, everybody. So happy he's back. He's a multi-talented actor, writer, filmmaker. You know, as the original star of Hedwig and The Angry Inch and shows like Shrill and Joe vs. Carol. He's starring in Oh, Mary at the Lyceum Theater on Broadway. John Cameron Mitchell is here, everybody. Great show, great guest. Before we get to all that, Republicans in Congress who said Trump would end foreign wars have a new strategy for defending the Iran war, claiming it's not actually a war, even though Trump himself calls it a war. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. As you all know, before Trump took office, our military was run by liberal, bleeding-heart, tofu-eating wokesters. They forced our troops to wear rainbow-colored uniforms and swap their weapons for books on critical race theory. But those days are over because President Kick-Ass Now and Forget Names Later is in charge. Along with his Secretary of War, Pete Drain the Kegseth. AKA the bad guy from every Steven Seagal movie, and they have one mission, bringing lethality and war fighting back to the U.S. a mother A.
President Trump signed an executive order to rebrand the Defense Department as the Department of War.
We've renamed the Department of Defense into the Department of War. The Department of War. I love the name. I think it's so great.
We're unleashing the warfighter to be ready, trained, disciplined, accountable, and lethal. Every day, we have to be prepared for war. We're training warriors, not defenders. We untie the hands of our warfighters. Maximum lethality and authority for warfighters. Restoring the warrior ethos. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct. We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders.
Yeah, did you hear our Secretary of White rapping? We're doing maximum lethality, not tepid legality, violent effect, not politically correct. We're gonna serve and protect while fully erect. Also, you guys, somebody needs to tell him, like, rhyming is woke. That's like poetry stuff. He's fully doing poetry stuff. The point is, America's done playing nice. That's what got us in this mess in the first place, according to renowned military historian Donald J. Trump, PhD.
So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War. I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now.
Exactly. Everybody remembers how woke America was in 1945. I mean, sure, the president was Harry Truman, who dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan. But if you read your history, you would remember the names of those bombs were they and them. Point is, America's done with being polite. We're done with euphemisms. We're calling it the Department of War. We're calling our troops war fighters, and we're calling our missions war fighting, because that's what it is, now and forever. War.
I wouldn't call this a war as much as I'd call it a conflict.
Strategic strikes are not war.
It's a defensive operation.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
This isn't a war.
I don't know if this is technically a war.
Well, I don't know if this is technically a war. A war is when my Meemaw hides my porcelain doll collection because I refuse to clean her CPAP machine. Just put it in the dishwasher, you old crone, and give me back my Yadros. They are too worth money. Come on, guys, didn't you hear? It's the Department of War. Our troops are war fighters. This is a war. Trump and Hegseth have both called it that.
We may have casualties. That often happens in war. We have unlimited middle and upper ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war.
We set the terms of this war. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
Yeah, we didn't start this war. This was going on long before Trump took office. Remember when Joe Biden slipped on those stairs? That's because Iran switched his shoes with rollerblades. Cover the steps to Air Force One with grease and banana peels, and don't get me started on Trump's up hand. You think that's because he's 79 and takes aspirin every day? No, it's because Iran made the lid on every jar in his kitchen extra tight. So he has to spend hours trying to twist it off if he wants his peanut butter. And this just in, he wants his peanut butter. That's why he always sounds like this.
God bless the United States.
Someone had their peanut butter. The point is, Trump and Hegseth have both been clear. This is a war.
It is not the intention of the U.S. government to invade. That is not what is happening. These are isolated, strategic, large-scale attacks.
I'm sorry, you say it's not the intention of the U.S. government to invade? Did we not just invade?
We are not invading. Are you seeing boots on the ground there? Because I'm not. And I've been told directly by the State Department and the White House that that's not the intention.
I mean, we just killed the leader of the country. That's not... Okay.
Targeted strategic military strikes and invasions are 2 totally different things, according to military terminology.
They're calling it a war. The president has called it a war.
And targeted airstrikes.
Strategic strikes, and according to the White House, and I just talked to them and talked to the Secretary of State, Strategic strikes are not war.
Okay, I see now. It's not a war unless you're actually on the ground. It's like when you were growing up and you'd annoy your siblings by putting your hands in their face and saying, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you, but I'm not touching you, though. Just bombing someone doesn't count as a war. You have to send troops in. That's why in Independence Day, when the alien ship blows up the White House, the president goes on TV and says, no need to panic. It's not an alien invasion. It's just an alien strategic strike. Look, I get that you guys don't want to come off as shameless liars for telling voters that Trump would end foreign wars, but this is getting confusing. Can someone please take another shot at this? How about Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, one of the biggest supporters of the insert euphemism with Iran? Can you please clarify, Senator, is this a war or is it not a war?
Did the president not run on not starting a war with Iran?
He ran on two things, ending wars. He's ended 8 of them. And he also ran on keeping America safe. This isn't a war. We haven't declared war. Everybody wants to say
hold on. I want to play the Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war. Is it really not a war?
What he declared on us was war, meaning us as Ayatollah. He declared war on us. We are not at war with the Iranian people. The Ayatollah who declared war on us, we've already taken him out. Now we're eliminating the threat. So we're not at war with Iran.
So the Ayatollah declared war on us, but we didn't declare war on him, and also we killed the Ayatollah who declared war on us. It makes sense that this guy has 2 first names because he can't make up his mind. I mean, maybe I'm being harsh. I'm sure it was just a slip of the tongue. Let's give Mark or Wayne, whichever one's talking today, another shot. Can you clarify, are we at war?
This is war, and we're taking out the threat. And if you're part of the threat, then you're a target.
Okay, thank you. That was clear. It is a war. Got it.
You'll concede this is war.
We haven't declared war. They declared war on us, but we haven't.
War. Secretary Hicks said
we haven't declared.
Just now, you said this is war.
They've called it war.
They've called it war. What I was saying. Okay, well, that was a misspoke.
I'm sorry. Did a classic misspoke. Always do it. You know what happened? Mark was thinking with the brain and Wayne was talking with the mouth. For argument's sake, let's say hypothetically that the war is over because the Ayatollah is dead. In that case, I'm sure every breathalyzer's best friend, Pete Hegseth, dialed down the rhetoric earlier today.
B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long.
Oh, it sounds so much like a war to me, you guys. Just admit it. Stop getting so defensive when we call a war a war. This is like if during the whole Am I a Clown to You speech at Goodfellas, Joe Pesci was in full clown makeup. They'd be like, yeah, man, you're a clown. There are 2 reasons they're all talking in Orwellian circles like this. One, if they acknowledge it's a war, they also have to admit that it's illegal, since only Congress can declare war. And 2, they don't want to admit that Trump lied. He said he would keep us out of exactly these type of open-ended wars, and specifically forever wars.
We ended the forever wars in Iraq and Syria and Somalia and Afghanistan. You're not going to have a war with me. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We just fight forever. Sometimes we don't fight to win. You know, we'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, you know, the wars that never end.
Oh my God, he's so philosophical. I like when Trump starts sounding like one of Wooderson's stoned friends in Dazed and Confused. You know, sometimes we don't fight to win, you know, we'll stay around the country for 50, we'll just bomb the hell out of everybody, you know. Make everybody nobody knows why we're there, you know, the wars, they never end, man. Once again, Seth threw in a reference to a movie that he thought would work and it didn't really land. Seth's really over his skis this week, dialing it back. He thinks everybody remembers the 90s, but they don't. Struck out with a Dave reference on Monday, and now he's back on Wednesday. Eating with Dazed and Confused, and he was so, you should have seen him earlier, he was so confident. And the writer said, I don't know, Seth, and he goes, trust me, we're gonna be out there, And a lot of people are saying it worked, a lot of people are saying it. Sympathy, he won't even say later, he'll say it wasn't sympathy applause. The point is, people are tired of pointless wars. Trump knew that and shamelessly exploited it by claiming he would stop so-called forever wars. So I have to assume that, at the very least, he's insisting this war with Iran will be short, contained, and limited in scope.
President Donald Trump wrote late last night on Truth Social about the U.S. stockpile of munitions. We have a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons, he said. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully using just these supplies.
I'm sorry, is that supposed to sound like good news? You're saying it like you're expecting us all to cheer. Yeah, the war can go on forever. You're like the guy at the party who forces everyone to play Settlers of Catan. Good news, guys. Good. I just got the expansion pack, so this game could go on forever. And before you nerds come after me, I like board games, okay? I just don't want to be forced to play one at a party. I already spent half my day pretending to lose to my kids at Connect 4. You know how hard it is to act like I don't see 3 red circles in a row? Oh, you got me again. I can't believe I missed that. I didn't miss it, dude. I'm just a great dad. Sorry I got so heated, everyone. That whole thing was a misspoke. What we're seeing play out is the absurdity of life inside the Trump cult. One minute, they all have to pretend Trump is a working-class savior who will end foreign wars. The next, they have to pretend the war he started isn't a war, even though he's the one calling it a war. They lied, not just to their own voters, but to the entire
United States.
This has been Closer Look.